reciprocity rate plus 7%. June 1st readings, Irenaeus of Lyons, Against Heresies, Book 1, Chapter 7. The final destiny of Achamoth and her seed. According to their account, once all the spiritual seed reaches perfection, their mother Achamoth will ascend from the intermediate space and enter the pleroma. There she will be united in marriage to the Savior, he who was begotten from the totality of the eons. In this cosmic marriage, Achamoth and the Savior become bride and bridegroom, and the pleroma itself becomes their wedding chamber. The spiritual seed, having shed their animal souls and become pure intelligences, will invisibly and irresistibly pass into the pleroma. Once there, they will be given in marriage to the angels who serve the Savior. As for the demiurge, he will be transferred to the same intermediate place once occupied by Achamoth, his mother. In that same middle realm, the souls of the righteous will dwell in rest, but no being with an animal nature will be permitted to enter the pleroma. When these events are fulfilled, the hidden fire within the world will erupt, consuming all matter. That fire will then be extinguished along with the matter it destroys. They claim the demiurge had no knowledge of any of these things before the coming of the Savior, the animal Christ, and their view of Jesus' incarnation. Some of them assert that the demiurge himself produced Christ as his own son, but of an animal nature. They claim this Christ was the one foretold by the prophets. This Christ, they say, passed through Mary as water through a pipe, without receiving anything from her. At his baptism, the Savior from the pleroma, formed by the collective power of all the eons, descended upon him in the form of a dove. This Savior carried within himself the spiritual seed originating from Achamoth. Thus, the earthly Jesus, they argue, was made up of four substances: the spiritual element from Achamoth, the animal nature from the demiurge, a mysterious body formed by divine craftsmanship, and the pleromatic Savior who descended as the dove. They insist this composite Christ could not suffer, since what is incomprehensible and invisible cannot be subject to pain. Therefore, the Spirit of Christ departed from him before his trial under Pilate. Even the seed from Achamoth, they say, did not suffer, being spiritual and invisible even to the demiurge. Only the animal Christ and his mysterious body suffered, to demonstrate an earthly image of the higher, invisible Christ who stretched himself out on the cross, stauros, and imparted substance to Achamoth. 3 kinds of prophecy and 3 sources of revelation. They claim that souls possessing Achamoth's seed are superior to others and are more loved by the demiurge, though he does not understand why. Thinking it is his own doing, he assigns these souls to prophets, priests, and kings. They believe these superior souls uttered divine truths through the prophets, being endowed with transcendent insight. They also say the mother Achamoth spoke about heavenly matters through both the demiurge and the souls he created. Thus, they divide prophecy into 3 categories. Some was spoken by Achamoth, some by her seed, and some by the demiurge. Similarly, they divide the sayings of Jesus into 3 types: those spoken under the influence of the Savior, those under the influence of the mother, and those under the influence of the demiurge, a theory Irenaeus promises to refute later in the work. The demiurge's ignorance and mistaken interpretations. The demiurge, they say, was unaware of anything above him. He heard the prophetic messages, but misunderstood them, sometimes attributing them to the prophetic spirit, sometimes to human wisdom, or even to deception by lower beings. He remained ignorant until the Savior appeared and revealed the truth. Then, they say, the demiurge embraced the Savior with joy and pledged himself to his service. They identify the demiurge with the centurion in the Gospels who said, "I too am a man under authority, with soldiers under me, and I say to one, 'Go,' and he goes." Matthew 8:9. They claim he continues to govern the world for as long as necessary, especially to protect the church, motivated by the reward promised to him, that he might be reunited with his mother in the intermediate realm. The 3 classes of humanity: material, animal, and spiritual. According to their view, all of humanity can be divided into 3 groups: material, animal, and spiritual, symbolized by Cain, Abel, and Seth. These 3 types no longer coexist within one person, but define entirely distinct kinds of people. The material are doomed to destruction. The animal may find rest in the intermediate place, provided they choose rightly. But if they choose wrongly, they too will perish. The spiritual, having been sown by Achamoth and nourished in righteous souls through history, will at last be perfected and given as brides to the angels of the Savior. Their animal souls, however, will rest forever with the demiurge. They further divide the animal type, saying that some are by nature receptive to the spiritual seed, while others are not, remaining forever opposed to it. Augustine of Hippo, The Confessions, Chapter 11, Section 18, Learning as Recollection, not Sensory Perception. What does it mean to learn something, especially when we are not taking it in through our senses, but grasping it inwardly, directly, and without an image? It means this: by meditating, we concentrate. We discipline our thoughts so that the scattered and disorganized truths hidden in our memory come into focus. They are stored in our minds already, buried under neglect and forgetfulness, but we gather them, bring them forward, and make them available to the mind that is trained to seek them out. From forgetfulness to understanding, my memory holds many such truths, already discovered and stored, waiting at hand. We say we have learned or known these things, but if we stop calling them to mind, even for a short time, they sink back down, sliding away into the deeper recesses of memory. When we remember them again, it can feel like discovering something new, because they have no other place to go but back into conscious awareness. They must be drawn out again and arranged before us to become known once more. This act of collecting them from their scattered state is why we call it thinking, cogitare in Latin. The word cogitare comes from cogere, meaning to gather. Just as ago and agito, or facio and factito relate to one another, so too cogo and cogito. But the mind has made cogitare its own word. We don't use it to describe just any kind of gathering. It means specifically the gathering that happens inside the mind, a focused recollection of what was once known, now drawn together again. Thomas Aquinas, Summa Theologica, Part 1, Question 75, Article 1. Whether the intellectual principle is united to the body as its form. Objection. It seems that the intellectual soul is not united to the body as its form, because form and matter must belong to the same species, and the soul is spiritual, while the body is material. Therefore, they cannot be united in the way form is united to matter. Responsio. Something is called a form of a body when it gives that body its essential act of being. In human beings, the intellectual soul not only understands its highest function, but also gives life to the body, making it a living human body. It is not simply present as a thinking power, but as the very principle of life, growth, sensation, and movement. Although the soul has operations that exceed the capacities of the body, such as understanding universal truths, this does not mean it cannot be the body's form. Rather, it shows that the soul transcends the body, but still animates it. Just as light can shine through transparent materials without being limited to them, so the soul, which is not material, informs the body without being limited by it. The key point is this: a human being is one being, not two. We are not a soul and a body loosely joined like two substances. Rather, we are a single substance made up of body and soul, and the soul is what makes the body human, not just alive, but rational. Therefore, the intellectual soul is truly the form of the body. Quick summa: the intellectual soul is united to the body as its form, because it is the principle of both life and rationality in the human person.